We are talking about teens and how you should handle them. My guest this half hour is Jane Berthiaume. She is the author of A Teen Guide to Smart Choices. And Jane, just before the break, I said, obviously the importance of conversation with your teenagers. And sometimes that's the biggest hurdle, is just finding the right time to talk to your teen.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the most important thing as the teens are growing up is your relationship with that teen and them feeling comfortable enough to come and talk to you.
All right, so let's talk about something, and that is sex with teenagers, how you approach it and what you say to them.
Okay, there's actually a chapter on it's about honesty and integrity. And it's called Life is Not a Juggling Act. And it's just basically about, not keeping your secrets from any part of your relationships with your parents or your friends or your girlfriend or that type of thing.
And that is important because some kids can get into relationships where they feel ashamed and they can't turn to anyone. Is that why you have to keep things so open and honest?
Well, it's just about trust in a relationship. So if you're not being honest with your parents about where you're going, for example, number one, it's a safety issue, and number two is you lose that trust between one another. And parents have to be trusting that wherever that your child is going, that they're going to be prepared to make some smart choices.
And I think that's where it comes down to it, parents trusting that their kids have the tools to make the right choices, because, again, another situation is teens and drinking. And in a perfect world, a child wouldn't be exposed to alcohol until they're 18 years old. But nowadays, kids 13, 14, they are going to parties where there is alcohol involved. Some advice that you would give parents in order to give the kids the right tools when they face those situations?
Okay, well, there's one thing we talk about, and it was actually some advice from my grandfather, who said everything in moderation. And we talk about that in the book, which is, if you're going to go out and drink, you have that choice. But you also have the choice to use moderation and be smart and not drive if you're drinking or that type of thing.
Now, do you think your grandfather, though, would have wanted you drinking when you weren't of a legal age to drink?
Absolutely not, and neither do we as parents.
Right.
But the fact is, the child has the choice.
Mm-hmm.
The teen has the choice, and you have to, just communicate with your child the reason why you think they shouldn't be drinking at this age. But ultimately, it's their choice. Right.
You know what, and I often say to my kids, be smart tonight. Whatever it is, just be smart. So hopefully that's subtly telling them to make smart choices as well. And I still think parents have to almost give them some ideas of, if you are in a situation, maybe have a can of pop or have something that you feel like if you have to be holding something and drinking something, at least there you're taking the spotlight off you because you're the only one in the group who's not drinking.
And that's exactly what we want from this book, is for parents and teens to talk and strategize, because if you have a plan and you have a strategy, you're going to be successful.
Especially
but if you go in, and if you go in and you're not prepared for this and someone's smoking pot and hands you a thing, I never thought about this. What do I do in this situation? I look like an idiot.
Right. And I say that I have a 15-year-old and a 19-year-old, but that discussion, that conversation has to happen well before they're 15 and 19. Would you suggest you're talking to them always about the different issues that they are going to face as they grow up?
Yeah, and the preteen is really the important group here. There's kind of two goals with this book, and one is to help the older teens who are struggling and to show them how to create positive change in their lives. But the second thing is to educate the preteens and their parents to prepare them for the challenges that they're going to face.
You know, it's funny because I say, when do you start to talk to them about sex, or where do you talk to them about sex? And I do think there are some situations, again, driving in a car, people are looking forward, you know, they're not having to get eye contact with mom, or whenever I hear a radio play a certain song that I think is so sexually explicit, before I change the channel, you know, it's an opportunity to talk to your daughter about the role models and the message that poor girls and boys are being bombarded with all the time.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. Like, having a teen in the car is the best thing. I love doing road trips with my kids because you're stuck in the car for like 2 hours and you got their ear.
Yeah.
And it's the best way.
There's nowhere they can go. They cannot run or hide.
Very true.
I want to talk about the power of peers, though, because sometimes I think no matter what you've done with your kids along the way, they'll get into situations, and sometimes the peer pressure is just so powerful.
And it is. And there's nothing you can do about that. That's human nature. And you can only talk with them, build as good a relationship as you can with your teens, and just hope for the best.
You know, I know one of the things you tackle is anxiety, and a lot of kids are going through junior high, high school, into university, and facing some anxious moments, whether it be test anxiety or just fitting in a social setting. Do you have any tools or suggestions that you give kids to say, when you are feeling this, recognize what you're feeling and how you deal with it?
Yeah, we really do. There's a great chapter on anxiety, and basically when you're feeling anxious, it's a signal from your body that you're living in fear. So we give them some tools. We do a relaxation breathing exercise. There's also a progressive relaxation where you learn to relax all your muscles basically from the top of your head to the tip of your toes. We give them instruction on how to meditate. So natural, there's so many times that doctors turn to a pill. Your teenager's got anxiety and depression, and they turn to medication. So we try to give them some skills to handle the anxiety without using a magic pill. Probably
the most important thing is, first of all, recognizing what's happening to your body. So just being in tune with your body, with what's going on.
Yeah, and that's true. People just kind of ignore the warning signs, and you know, it's easy to handle anxiety when you have a few tools in your belt, but if you don't know what those tools are, you know, to prepare, there's a simple breathing exercise. You can prepare for going into an exam, for example. You can use that breathing exercise to relax. For me, going on a radio station, not something I do every day.
You were doing a little bit of breathing before you came on?
I was doing a little bit of breathing before I came on.
And one last thing I want to touch on, Jane, because social media is everywhere. Do you deal with that and teaching the kids to make smart choices even when it comes to what they share in the social media network?
Yeah, I don't deal with the social media part of things. I'm just trying to give them the tools. There's one whole chapter on using your intuition to make good decisions. You know, listening to that little voice in your head that's saying, this is a bad idea, you know.
Yeah, listening to your gut for sure. Jane, thanks so much for your time this half hour.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Enjoy Arizona.
Okay, thanks.
Jane Berthiaume is the author of A Teen Guide to Smart Choices. You can Google it and find it online, but obviously an important thing to be able to open up that dialogue with your teenager and find out exactly what they're thinking about. It is 3:20.